Well, hello there, everyone. Here to show you right here is the coloring right here of a turkey right here. And I'm sure that most of us have seen, colorings like this and talk about, work right here is with the chalk right here, along with the pencil right here. And what I put together right here is actually, the sketching right here, the turkey right here. And I add in right here is a little bit of blend right here is the red, and then along with the orange right here. And how many of us are probably thinking too that if you're going to be coloring, anything, any source of picture, doing any source of coloring, so that a lot of times that you're going to maybe be asking the questions such as to where hey that do you want to go ahead and add in the color first, or you want to go ahead and add in the darken value and the outlines first? But you have right here is the turkey right here, and so far with the turkey though, that if you're going to be working with the turkey right here, and then you have right here is the feathers right here. But what I'll go ahead and do right here is add a little bit. I'm like, see here, purple. Add in a green right here to go ahead and blend a little bit of purple right here, just to kind of make the feathers come out. But for a turkey. So it's like, that if you're going to be doing, working, coloring for a turkey, though, it sure seems that way to where that, do artists, you find that very appealing whenever the more color value add to it, and then along with, anything else, freehand that you want to work with, and want to know just a little bit too about that, about anything freehand and along with the color value. And, back when I was young, a lot of times it sure seemed that way to where that it was the color that kind of approached my attention most of the time. Not really about too much of working with grayscale or anything like that. It was mainly the coloring. So it's like So if you want to go ahead and draw a picture right here and add some color right there, and so something that kind of get your attention by, and let's just say if you're going to be starting out with maybe a few shapes, for the turkey, and want to know, okay, does that look good that way, or does that look good this way? And so you add more detail to it. But one thing that I was trying to figure out here also was that if it's a good idea to go ahead and add the color first and kind of sketch over that color, and to say that if you were working with paint, then you would probably need to wait for the paint to dry. But this right here is of course, is pastel chalk, and so that's why that it sure seems that way. That making sure that the colors blend the colors in, but make sure they don't smear. But anyway, working with the darker outline right here. So a lot of times, if you're going to be coloring a picture right here, and you're like thinking too that you want to kind of get rid of some of that white spacing in between, and they say put in a little bit more darker space right there. But you have right here is the feathers right here, and I'll go ahead and add a little bit more green right here. But probably thinking, I'm like, I think I just use that green right there. I'm like, see what I think. I have about 4 or 5 different colors of the green right here. But you have right here, just coloring the turkey right here. And I like it thinking too that if you're going to be working any sort of sketch of a turkey, though, even if it's for a recipe or something like that, or just to kind of talk about the turkey story or something like that, and you're likely thinking too that if it's really the color value and all those details that kind of gets the person's attention, or if it's really about the fact about, what exactly is the turkey doing? And but still. So I have right here's the feathers right here, and you have right here's the wings right here. And what I'll go ahead and do is add a little bit more dark. I'm like, feathers right there. Just got to approach the turkey feathers a little bit more. And I say too that whenever you're going to be drawing a turkey, though, a lot of times, certain areas to where that you want to go in and color in the detail for, but it's like, if you want to go ahead, if you have up maybe 4 or 5 different colors that you have to work with, that you're working with, and you're like, well, I want to know too that which color do you think that this part of the drawing should be, and so a lot of times it seems like that really though that If you're going to be looking at the colors, though, you may want to think as to where you got a lighter color right there, darker color, lighter and darker. So if you want to start out with a lighter color first and then a darker color, especially if you're working with this this white surface right here. And so it's like, say, is to where draw the turkey right there, and I want to know too that drawing the feathers right there, using a chalk. But I know that there's other sorts of art, artistic supplies you can use as well. And a lot of times, if it was paint, and then you would have to wait for the paint to dry and all. But still, that I know with me though, what I have here, working with right here, is actually that I add in the color first. I'm like, I add in the color first, and I wouldn't put the feathers right there. But this right here, yeah, put the feathers right there, and then go ahead and add the color. And so yeah, go ahead and color this with purple, and just kind of shade it in. Shade in the turkey right there. So yeah, they go ahead and blend the purple right here. So a lot of times it sure seems that way, that whenever color value comes around, and it sure seems that way to where that what makes it more interesting whenever you're working with color necessarily is to where that other than like Paint Bucket that we'd see on one of those paint programs, that you'll be able to get in between the lines and over the line. I'm like, yeah, you're between the lines and all that. Those lines that would show about what colors that you should be what colors in certain areas that they have like the lighter and darker colors in certain color types and all that. But I just keep thinking too that that whenever you're going to be coloring a turkey, though, that something that kind of approaches the artist's attention, and that when I know is like, okay, does it look good this way or that way? But I want to talk about right here, especially with this part of the turkey right here, because I know a lot of times the turkeys, though, that the turkeys are going to be walking around gobbling on, and you'll likely want to know too that I guess that their skin, apparently that the skin on their neck tends to change at times, and at the time you'll likely want to know too that it goes from being all red to then it goes back to orange, and it goes back to being all red again. And half the time it sure seems that way, that isn't really because of the fact about, well, if it's around people or something like that, that's what it does, is that you have where the neck changes color and all that, but still. But I have right here the turkey right here, and so it sure seems that way that coloring the turkey right here, and you're likely thinking too that with the turkey that if it's going to be changing colors, and then of course if it's going to be what you cause is that to where that changing colors, or if anything that's just what's called like the stir and fade type or something like that. But still, the turkeys, or maybe if it's the roosters or some bird like that, and want to know too the certain kinds that do change colors of it. Anyway, so you got right here, so use the sketch and wash brush right here. Sketch and wash pencil, is the pencil, but anyway, you're working with the pencil right here, the pencil, the pesto chalk, and the pencil. But anyway, so you have right here is the eye right here, but still, that you're showing right here is with the bird right here. But still, that I know if we're going to be working any activities, coloring activities, that you want to know too that if it's just something to kind of get you started with whatever that you want to draw and create, that half the time it seems like that you want to maybe start out with the color first, just to kind of brainstorm any ideas that you want to start out with, and then if you're going to draw a circle or a star or some shape like that, and you want to go ahead and add the color value in first, or you want to go ahead and draw a little bit more of the outline. So what I did, right here is I went ahead and added in the color first, and I went ahead and then after that, and I was working with a little bit more of the inside details. And so yeah, that so if you're going to be working on an activity like that, it sure seems that way that starting with like grayscale, or if it's just working with a black and white sketch. And sometimes it seems like that if there's no color to that, then half the time it seems like that that does not really sharpen your interest toward it, that improve your interest toward it, what you want to talk about whenever it comes to picture drawings. And so sometimes it seems like if you add just a little bit more color to it, and sometimes it's like, well, what color do you think that this part of the layer of the drawing should be, and what do you think this color should be? And so I got about 16, 17 colors right here that I'm working with right here. But a lot of times it sure seems that way, that, do you want to go ahead and start out with by talking about the story about the turkey right here, that it will be changing colors whenever it was walking around and all that. And sometimes it's like, it goes from all pink to all red, and it goes back to having a little bit of blue right there. And so you're likely thinking too that what is the reason to why turkeys change colors, and like the skin, the feathers. I'm like, they have different kind of color. I'm like, other than the peacock, I'm like, that's kind of like what you call a peacock. More likely a peacock that you will go ahead and look at a peacock and thinking as to where the peacocks do normally change color. If they're going to be around people, or you'll walk around the farm and they have these different color transitions and all. So the more color you add to something, it sure seems that way toward it. If you want to attach that to a story, and too, like the little rocky peacock or something like that, or the turkey or something like that, you have right there the turkey. And I'll go ahead and add a little bit right here, a little bit darker blue right here. But you might say that so basically that if you were to have turkey meals, a lot of times you want to know too that different blends of colors that may basically mean as to which part do you think that tastes delicious, and what part do you think is just what's called the low fat meat, or maybe if it's the dark meat and then the light meat or something like that. But as I talk about for Thanksgiving meal, or like anybody probably thinking too that if you're going to be studying about the turkey, so then a lot of times it's going to maybe be about as to where about the feathers, about the type of interesting creatures, the ones that have the feathers and all that, the ones that walk around and nod their neck, whichever you want to call it. But I just really think too that whenever it comes to drawing a turkey, though, that add in the feathers right here, and then it sure seems that way to where that you want to go ahead and start out with a little bit more color value, and then go ahead and add a little bit more of the outlines of the sketches right here. So it's basically like, you have right here's the color right here, but then you want to go ahead and work a little bit more of the outline right here, just to kind of bring it out. Because I know that a lot of times that whenever, if you're going to be sketching on blank white piece of paper, that you want to go ahead and fill in some of those white areas with a little bit darker value. And a lot of artists might even think too this, to where it looks a little bit more, done whenever you go ahead and add fill in a little bit of those. It's like a kind of, if you want to kind of call it like maybe a frame or something like that. Building a frame or something like that. And if you want to add like maybe a shadow about right here. So if you want to go ahead and after you just get done adding color, that you want to go ahead and add like a little darker value at about right here, and people may think is to where, especially if you're wanting to make it look a little bit more three-dimensional or something like that. And I really don't know if all artists would do that, to where they're going to go ahead and add a darker value to the outline or something like that, or right behind, just to show, if there's like a shadow, or just to kind of blend in more of the color right there. But really, though, that if we're going to be sketching a turkey, though, that it seems like that you go ahead and draw the outline right there of the turkey, and I think it's toward that, okay, how about if we can go ahead and add the color first, and then you can go ahead and add in the inside details right there. So it's like, when the artists do that, is that real? I'm like, yeah. So it's basically like the color, you have it to where the color is already there, and making sure that you're drawing on a more clean, ready surface right there on the drawing, and then go ahead and add right there, add the inside details right there. And I know that some of that color would even get on the pencil too. But I guess if you want to kind of call it, that's known as blending. If you're more likely, if you're blending in the colors, if that's really supposed to be, if that's a little bit more professional whenever you do that, or that just basically shows as to where you're just kind of getting some better touch-ups, of the drawing right there of this coloring. And so at the time, it sure seems that way that, you go ahead and first of all, whenever you start working on your drawing, that the idea that you were thinking about was actually doing like a presentation to where you go ahead and sketch a picture of a turkey, and then it could have maybe been on a napkin too or something. You were showing somebody about how to sketch a turkey, and then you were talking about maybe a turkey recipe or something like that. And next thing you know, and then you go ahead and take out the paint kit, and then go ahead and paint a little bit more, but then take out the chalk and maybe a little bit more color pencil or crayons or something like that. So really so if you add a little bit more color to it, it sure seems that way to where that people may think as to where, okay, yeah, that looks like a turkey, and want to know too if we can go ahead and have it published or laminated or something like that. But so yeah, you have right here is a turkey right here, but it sure seems that way toward it. Yeah, and then you got right there is the blue, but I kept thinking too that I really don't know if all artists do this, but if you want to go ahead and add, like if the feathers were coming out like that, just to kind of bring the chalk out just a little bit more if those were feathers right there. People might even think too that really, why would you want to waste any more of your time going over the lines like that? Like talk about the darker lines right there. Why would you want to waste your time going over those lines and just saying as to where, oh yeah, they're supposed to be feathers. That's why it's coming out of the line like that. It's supposed to be feathers right there. And so if these are supposed to be feathers, though, it sure seems that way to where, like, well, really, that you're supposed to, if you're trying to make it look like feathers, and some people might say that, well, maybe not all turkeys would really have too many feathers right down there, but when we're talking about birds, though, that most birds would have feathers, and at the time, it's like, well, with or without no argument, if you want to go ahead and add some feathers to it. And well, no, too, yeah, well, if you're going to have an artist that's going to be drawing a turkey, though, and at the time, you're like, well, really, that, certain portions of the picture, though, if you're going to have it to where, the more feathers you draw, then maybe the more it's not going to really make any sense, really. So if you're going to be talking about a turkey, though, and what I know too is to where that the more feathers you add on there, then maybe you won't be able to recognize the drawing. Like how many artists maybe think too is to where if that's really all true or not, to where that the more color and the more details that you add to a picture, then maybe a lot of everybody else would not recognize it. And so that's why it sure seems that way that whenever we think about artwork right here, that all we necessarily thinking about is toward the details that we want to put to the drawing, or just want to think about is to where that, what was there before, and then what's being recognized now. And so it sure seems that way that whenever I was working on this, I was like, oh, okay, well, it's just a little bit that, some portions of the turkey, like the legs and all that, I was not able to sketch in there, but still, that when we're thinking about a turkey, though, it sure seems that way to where that, you want to go ahead and add some more artistic detail to there, and so it sure seems that way to where that if you're going to be telling a story to the kids, and let's say that, you're going to go and give it a title such as The Dancing Turkey or something like that, Dancing Turkey. And people are likely thinking, too, that, really, that, the dance, the Dancing Turkey right here. And so you're likely thinking, too, that, See, dancing, go ahead and put lowercase right there, the dancing turkey. So really, if you were to write that, I'm like, you'll give it a title just like that. And so sometimes it sure seems that way. If this was like all pencil or maybe just all grayscale value or something like that, then maybe how many artists would even recognize it, and why know just a little bit too toward it, yeah. So you add in the details right there, the feathers and everything, and like anybody said, yeah, and a way to kind of get your hand all dirty, and you want to know too is to where you go ahead and blend more of that chalk in right there. So you like you either paper towel or your finger and just kind of blend in a little bit more of the colors right there. But still, that I know that whenever you're going to be drawing a turkey, though, it sure seems that way to where a lot of kids really find that real fascinating whenever they are able to look at the colors first. If they don't really know really what to draw and really what to work with necessarily, and do you think that's typical to just go ahead and show them maybe a few examples of something in color? Like, okay, what does it look like when it's in color, or maybe when it's half done, one portion of the drawing has already been done. So all those stickers, I guess, if you want to kind of call it like activity stickers and all that. But people probably thinking too that one of the reasons why that they got into art was just kind of represent their own ideas. Yeah, you want to come up with your own idea for what you want your turkey to look like and all that. And so it sure seems that way toward it. Anything creative, huh? And but I know with me, though, that it sure seems that way to where whenever I would draw something, I would actually think about the colors. I'd say that other than black and white or something like that, and people probably thinking too that yeah, I could maybe draw something, like for an example, and you want to know too that you go ahead and yeah, I know it. Just add a few feathers right down, right in the background, right there. So you probably thinking too that you don't really want to add a whole, don't really want to add too many feathers to this bird right here. But just to kind of show everybody that if you're going to be drawing a picture, though, that a lot of artists would maybe ask any audiences. They'll probably say too that if you're going to be drawing a picture, though, that a lot of times it sure seems that way. Do you want to go ahead and start out with the color first and go ahead and draw the outlines? Because it sure seems that way to where that, whenever you start doodling, on a sketch pad or some like that, like on a doodle, on an actual sketch pad, and you're likely thinking too that, yeah, well, I don't really know exactly what shape that I'm starting to work out here, so it sure seems that way to where that if you want to go ahead and work with a little bit of a color first and then go ahead and draw the outlines right there. But what I started out with actually was the eyes, and I can tell anybody here too that whenever I was drawing this turkey, I actually started out with the eyes just because I'm like, well, I want to make sure that I had positioned the neck right, and along with the rest of the body of the bird right here with the feathers. And so whenever I was working on this, I was like one or two is toward it, trying to make sure it fits on the page, and we draw a turkey, and 102 is about how big you want the turkey, and but still. So yep, talk about the story about the turkey. But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day.